is the process of writing effective instructions for the model so that it consistently generates content that meets your requirements, right? And there are different styles of models that you would need to use different kinds of prompts for, reasoning versus GPT versus, say, text-to-image generation models. You'll have to sort of adjust your style of interaction with the model depending on how it works, what outcome you're looking for, and all of that. So prompting, that it's a way for you to have some ability to affect quality and safety and the relevance of the output so that you can get consistent results over time to the extent that an LLM will produce it. They're always a little bit of a wild card. And there are two core types of prompts. One is system prompt, which lets you set up the behavior of your model and tell it what to do, how to do it, and what not to do, which is also very important. And then there are the user prompts, which are your way of tasking the model to specific purposes. And so a good prompt design gives you better reliability, less hallucination because you've set those guardrails up, and faster workflows so that you can be repeatable and the model understands the intent throughout the course of your interaction with it. So LLMs interpret prompts based on the text that you've given and the context and patterns. And so the inputs are basically it sort of takes the concatenation of the system prompts, the user prompts, and the prior history of what you've been doing in your session so far. And there's no real memory of intent here. These models are not smart, truly. They're your helper robots. They complete things in a, predictive fashion. And how to make the model behave depends on how clear your prompt is, what your settings are around your parameter settings for temperature and top P values, which is how many tokens the model considers when generating the next word in the sequence, and a role-based setup, that's mostly where I'm going to spend time in the demo to show like system and user and assistant for your tasks. And so what are system prompts? Like the rules of engagement basically with the model. The system prompt determines who you want your LLM to be in that session. So it defines the persona and sets the boundaries for how you hope your LLM will behave. So you could, just tell it it's a helpful public health analyst if you're looking for a, kind of a lightweight way to frame it in. You can give it specific indications about how you want it to respond in HTML, in Markdown format, anything like that. And control behavior and tone, so you can have it be lightly formal and academic, or serious and whatnot. It's depending on what you're trying to do. And best practices are to be direct. Imagine you're explaining a task to a very smart person who isn't really sure anything about how you want them to do it. Find that's helpful for me. Make sure that you cover the scope of what you want it to do and the constraints explicitly, especially if you're getting into more complicated prompting, and try to keep it consistent across sessions if the behavior of the model is important for your outputs. So user prompts are the kind of other half of the prompting structure, and that's what you want your LLM to do after you've decided who it is. So we've told it it's a helpful public health assistant, research assistant, and you want that research assistant to write a 3-paragraph overview of epidemiology for your high school class, something like that. So that gives you a specific output, a specific length, a focus on a certain topic area. It gives you a sense of the reading level that you're gauging. This is, an education setting, so you would want it to be more, kind of fact-based and informative, let's say. So that's the user prompts can be anything that you're looking for, really, just what you want to get out of it. So prompting patterns, and you've probably all heard of some of these, perhaps used them, taken these approaches. Zero-shot prompting is just straight answer this question, do X, no examples, and to see how the model behaves with that. Most of them are really pretty good with zero-shot these days. So few-shot prompting is if you give it an example of what you want it to do and tell it how that example tracks with the output you're expecting before you feed it similar content. If you're having it, say, work on narrative structures that follow a certain pattern, then that's a way to feed it an example to train it. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna this few shot prompting. Here's an example. Now do the same. I find that when I have it do repeated tasks, it tends to go off the rails and start doing stuff that I don't want it to do. I'm like, just be more like a robot. Do you have any tips for getting it to do better with repeatable tasks?
I do, and we'll get to some of those.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thank you.
And so in chain of thought prompting is if you want to see the reasoning the model is using to give you your answer, and that can help you maybe, Ryan, a little bit, just to change the approach to be like, how did you arrive at that answer? And then you can see what the model was doing to yield the result that you're not after. And then you could kind of offer those corrections in an iterative prompt. And role-based prompting, again, that's something that I like to use when I'm looking for an assistant, basically, to help me complete a particular kind of task. So you could have it, say, explaining something to a certain audience. And advanced system prompts are more how you can further shape the behavior of the model with, say, the output file you want, controlling the creativity of the model to find that they, to change the temperature, which is how creative it is in its responses. And, you can refine your persona iteratively as you help the model kind of hone in on its voice, is sort of how I think of it. And go ahead, Rondalyn.
Thanks, Andrea. He had a question on your zero shot. Oh, I'm sorry, the few shot prompting. So do you actually provide the example first? Like you say, here's the example you provided, and then say, now, okay, so you posted something. Okay. So I think I missed it. Yeah.
Let's say you have a narrative text. I'm thinking to our suitors data that my colleague Ali has worked on. It's a narrative description of the scene of an overdose. And those come in a structured format every time, but the content's a little bit different. So Ali could say, feed it descriptions of the, an example, basically. Say, this is the narrative. This is how I want you to process it. Please do that for the next narratives. But yeah, so that helps you sort of give the model even more specific instruction than letting it kind of could go wandering and figure it out itself.
Okay, no problem.
It's like a trail map, right?
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. And my favorite kind of secret sauce is using an LLM to create its own system prompts, depending on what kind of work you're trying to do. Sometimes developing the prompt can be a really heavy lift if you're starting from scratch. So a few things to avoid. One is underspecifying the task, just being too general. The second is mixing multiple instructions into one prompt. If you say, please read this research paper, create a graph, create a map, and then summarize it into an executive summary, that's too much for it to do at one time. So I would want it to, split those tasks out specifically and work through it one at a time, and it keeps the confusion down. So vague or generic prompts, that's kind of similar to underspecifying. And over relying on natural language tone for precise tasks. You might think that you're being clear to it, but the model does not necessarily understand your intention. So you need to be sure that you're really kind of drilling down into what you mean when you're putting language in. If you're getting sort of funny results, I do ask my models, please. I think it's just being polite. So someday when we have to work together as colleagues, they're not going to think I'm difficult.
Hi, Andrea. I'm sorry, but I do remember reading that using please and thank you actually increases the amount of energy needed to process.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I had
I
to
would
stop
say
being
like
polite.
very the difference is probably inconsequential, but it is
Really?
a few more
Okay.
tokens.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't always, but I do start the session with hello, this is what I'd like you to do, kind of thing. But yeah, so I think that it's really important to keep a log of your prompt, especially as you're getting settled with how this is working for you once you're getting used to it. I cannot tell you how many good prompts I've designed, and I forgot to save them, and I just so turn on auto logging if you have a cloud platform that you're using, and then you can go through and throw things out so you don't have to store them, but you keep the good ones, right? Test small variations. Wording changes can make big impacts, and I think, Ryan, that might be something that you want to take a look at, like just see if you can change small things, kind of do A/B testing iteratively and see if you get there a little bit more, especially if you're in like a multi-turn conversation with your model. And you want to obviously check your outputs. That is the number one rule, henceforth and forevermore. Don't trust this stuff without verifying it. Factuality, safety, especially if you're communicating or trying to create content around sensitive topics. You want to make sure that this thing's not undermining your message. And you can use feedback loops with the model. I think this could be could be a little bit helpful as well, Ryan, like just asking the model to drill into what it meant, or have the model confirm with you. You can set your system instructions to have the model ask you if that's what you're after, and then sort of use that to help move things along. And you want to evaluate your prompt performance versus what was expected. So you can actually set that up so you can track the quality, say, either just like you can have a really basic score that you self-assign, or you can do something that's a little bit more like qualitative research on your text. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm getting the idea of what you're describing. So, but do you have like an example, or is there a good place to go look for those example prompts?
Yeah, I've got some resource. Let me pop to the end here. There's some resources here. Promptingguide.ai has a ton of engineering focused content on there. Whether I can find an exact example for you.
No, that's fine. This at least gets me started. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll put the section in there for the few shot prompting, because that's where we were talking there. Okay, so I am getting some new info here, and I am glad you mentioned it, Rhonda Lynn, because it seems that saying please and thank you has cost OpenAI quite a bit of money, which I don't actually feel too bad about that. But I do think about, there is there's an environmental cost behind any money that you spend on that. So maybe I will be a little less polite on my model turns now.
No, I think it costs more money, but like, don't you want a polite model? I don't we want to train humans and AI to be more polite? So like,
Well, now they're getting manipulative, right? They're trying to be kind and say nice things to you, so you'll keep using them.
Right. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to buy it birthday presents. It's just gonna be a whole thing. All right. So that's I've got a couple demos that I want to run through with you. this, so let me close out of that and get to my screen share here. Just a minute. And these slides are going to be on the Google Drive, and we can send them around on the email as well. But I'm going to start moving things over to the Drive so that we have one stop, and I don't have to clog your inboxes with attachments. Let me get the demo going here, and presenting and share on my screen here. All right, so we're going to run through a couple settings for this, and it actually the Nature article kind of made me chuckle because this is a I'm going to show how to set up your AIs as grant reviewers for your whatever your like. Let's say that you have a 70-page notice of funding opportunity, and you want some help making sure that all your conditions are met and all your I's dotted and T's crossed. So let's set up some helpful research assistance using this is ChatGPT free public version, and then we'll get into the OpenAI playground and in Gemini where you can do some more work on the back ends of the model. So right now, let's we're going to use some old Scratch material that I have from an SF grant from a while ago. So let's just start with giving ChatGPT basic information, and you can do some additional nudging here on it if you want it to do deep research or think for longer or something like that. But so I am going to tell it that it's my research assistant, and it's going to review my grant application for completeness and correctness. So let me pull. This is the notice of funding opportunity. I think it's like about 80 pages long in 12-point font, single space. It is hard to read. There's a lot you can miss in here. And I also want it to, let's say, I'm going to give it a draft of a project description that we used. This is, just drafty draft material, but I want it to review and check the description to see how it looks. So this is reading in the requirements, the document, give some, really basic output on the levels of, the different sections of the proposal, and highlights potential gaps which makes sense because I did not feed it the letters of collaboration or the resource contributions or any of those other supplemental documents that went with the thing. But this is pretty basic, right? You get just kind of a check mark list, which I mean, not super helpful in terms of understanding the quality of your content, but it's there. It tells you, like, did you meet these things? And then of course you need to verify that it's pulling everything that's necessary into this summary table. And then so you can do that, and then you could also query the proposal, say, so if you want to say, like, ask the, just find out some basic information about what's in there without having to page through and do the looking yourself. So this is the award distribution, which that's correct. I read that. So that I'm aware of. You can also say, if we want to tackle the grant ideation, let's say. So this is a basic look at this. I'm going to come over here. This is, again, this is ChatGPT running 4.0 basic model. And so now if I want to take a look at that Aim Ahead grant that we talked about earlier, but I'm not really sure what I want to do. I want to just, ideate a little bit, figure out what kind of ideas it might suggest. I'm going to give it a basic persona as an AI and ML expert, and I want it to apply its skill set in government public health. Let's see, what do we say? So, sometimes you go into these grants with a really clear idea. Sometimes it just helps to have, something to talk with about it. But we can really use this for any kind of iterative conceptual work, to the extent that it's helpful to you. So you could suggesting real-time syndromic surveillance for EHR data, predictive modeling for outbreak forecasting, a One Health approach to integrate zoonotic data. I mean, all these things are, good ideas, things that we're doing in various aspects of our public health practice. And, maybe you could figure out a way to build on those for your specific institution, workforce training. Good stuff, right? But pretty basic. So next, I want to go into the a little bit deeper into the playgrounds here, the OpenAI playground. I'm gonna clear this out here. All right, so now we're going to get into how do you use a model to create system prompts for itself to do the work that you want it to do. So this is a paid OpenAI. You have to sign up with a billing account underneath it, but you can do it for like $5. It's not a super high barrier to just having a little bit of funds to play around with it. So we've got, this tells us which model we're using. GPT 4.1 gives us our format for our output, our temperature, the token rate, the top p-score, and whether we want the prompt stored, I believe. So you can add tools if you want it to do, like this gets really, it can get really complex by creating agents to do various functions, but we're not going to get into that right now. So if I want to start a prompt and say, all right, create detailed system instructions for an assistant to serve as a reviewer for an NSF grant. That's because that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to take my grant, tell me if it's any good. So now it's going through its process of what it would do if I give it those instructions. So let's say I want to take the step-by-step instructions here, put them into my system message over here, and clear out this prompt up here. All right, and I am then going to ask it to do the exact same thing that I had it do before, which was looking at my notice of award or the notice of funding opportunity. So I want it to, there's that, and then I want it to there. I want it to tell me phase assessment. See how I am with the pleases? All right, there we go. So if I'm having it assess the project description text against the NOFO, here is what it does. It gives me much more detailed assessment of what it's doing section by section. So it can take what I wrote and look at that against what the requirements are and give me some sort of feedback on that. Gives me gap assessment and some sort of overall assessment and some suggestions for what I should do to improve my content and the draft of my project description. So that is one way you could run it through OpenAI, and I want to show you the Gemini version too, because I'm going to show you the Gemini version too, because you have option, it gives different kinds of output. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with OpenAI. And just for kind of awareness here, we have this is where you would go to set your temperature. 0 is not creative, 2 is extremely creative. Right now I'm at 1, but if I was actually doing this, I would probably put that at 0.25 or so. I tend to run the models more conservatively where that comes down to it. So these are the system instructions that the Gemini model has generated for itself, showing what the role is, the mission, confidentiality, how to handle objectivity and bias mitigation, peer review preparation. This is much more in depth and has consistently been so in the experience I've had with these models. And I really like this part here where it shows an overall rating for the sections. You can also get that to do numeric rating and give you an output score on the quality of what you're feeding it. So let me put that into the system instructions here. So now we're going to go drop that in here. And we're going to ask it to do the exact same thing that we just asked it to do we just asked OpenAI to do. So I've got science and SF engines, and we'll say, tell it what the document is. That's cool. And then we will give it our.
Andrea, could you
Yep.
explain prompt versus system instructions?
Yeah, so system instructions are the guardrails for how we want the model to behave during a session and the persona that we want it to take on and how we want it to be. The sort of prompt instructions or user instructions are what we want it to do during that session. So system instructions create like the who and the user instructions create the what.
Okay, thank you.
So, yep. And so this is, that's not what we want to do. So we'll just give it some really basic, please assess my project description against the NOFO that I just gave it. And it takes a minute, but it's also the project description is about 10 pages, and the NOFO is about, like I said, 70 something, 80 pages.
I'll do just a follow-up. I guess I understood that from your presentation now that you said it, but I've never seen system instructions before. Is that only for paid ones normally?
Not necessarily. You can do
Okay.
sort of system instruction light just in the prompt turn interface and say ChatGPT or the front end of Gemini, but you have to sort of give it's going to show up in line in your chat, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like this. So you like giving it something at the outset of your session to tell it who it is, what you want it to do. That's system instruction, even though it's just in the same routine as the rest of the conversation. Yeah, Vertex AI is the Google Cloud Platform AI Studio. It runs on Gemini. That's the model that is driving a lot of this stuff. You can choose which ones you want to use, and they have a whole bunch of other models for visual and video prompting and stuff, which I can show here in a minute. But
thank you.
So this is getting into pretty deep evaluation of the quality of the outputs here. So it likes the grant generally, gives me kind of the intellectual merit strengths, and that we've checked all the boxes the NSF wants to see. Weakness, there are some things that weren't fully fleshed out in this draft of the application. So it gives you clear things that you can go work on to improve your fit. And then some themes that you may want to work in, And there's also, I saved a prompt that I did a little while ago in, I put that in the shared drive. This thing's being silly up here. So this is a system prompt that I did a bit ago. It gives a role definition as a meticulous reviewer for grants, basically. So I want it to have certain kind of mindset and have a checklist it runs through. And this one I had doing a scoring setup where you can have it, give preliminary scores for like quality for each section. So I could tell like something with a more distribution just from excellent, poor to good to excellent. Not quite as granular, maybe, if you're really going through a lot of iterations of this. It sort of helps to see it. And then you can also change the actions. Like if you realize you don't want you want the model to suggest a specific rephrasing, you can sort of change your instructions later on. That's one reason to keep a log of your prompts. Go ahead, Ronald.
There we go. I was wondering, and this is a great walkthrough. Thank you. I was wondering actually if when I think of both the design and then evaluation, it's the opportunity to essentially try to build your prompts against feedback on actual submissions. So, for instance, taking those and then seeing, okay, here's a prompt that is getting me closer to what I've really received, and then comparing that over several different grants, seeing how generalized it is.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit there, but I think that you could use it to compare your submissions for like awarded or not awarded grants, and could probably quality check yourself. And you know, it's not to say that this is going to make you successful. Like you may still, you know, just not be, you know, not get the award for whatever reason. But I find that this helps with that nitpicky, you know, catching all the requirements all the time stuff that I find really tedious, and like it saves the it lets you query the NoFo too, which is really nice. Just in case you're missing something. And then of course, you know, verify it. But it does speed things up, I find. And I see plenty of stuff in the chat. I would love for folks to come off mute and we can have a bit of a discussion about this. Felipe, that's the end of my demo, so we can stop